I have a lot to share on this video, and it'll come in bits and pieces. The first part, I want to tell you about my spiritual event that ignited my 7-year walk since 2016. And my consciousness of what happened to me is much clearer today than it has been for the last 7 years. I've been pretty much in a state of trance, if you will, but I knew my focus, and I knew I had a mission, and I knew I would be I always knew I would be safe and I would be protected. And I always have been. I've been more than comfortable. I've never needed anything, and I've never asked for anything from any of my subscribers or people at all. I am not, am the opposite of that. I don't have any sponsors, because if I did, I'd have to look left or right. And that's our problem, my friends, is that people are looking left and right all the time in everything. You're looking left, or you're looking right, or you're looking up at God. And that's a real piss off to me, that people have uh, put a name, a noun, to our source of energy. And they talk about this God as if we are not a part of this source of energy, and we're separate from it. And to not worship it as separate is blasphemy. And I can't tell you how many times I have been spit on for my journey in this consciousness of the Christ that people are worshiping is satanic in every which way. And people don't know. And they think that they are doing the right thing by worshiping and sacrificing and putting up to the altar whatever they can give, and in this sort of mentality of beggy, this, I don't know, men in fine clothes of silk at the altar there, and you think they're closer to God than you. And I hate using the word God, because to the majority of people, it is a man, it's a noun, it's a thing. It's the image of you. But God's nothing like the costumes here. I have to say the word God just for reference. If you're not a part of the source of Christ, you were when you were an infant. You were born pure love, and you had no fear, and you have an imagination and a plan. And I know this now. You all have a plan. You see, my walk has been to expose the lies. It's not a conspiracy. There are lies out there. It's lie. Media is feeding you information so you learn things, like you learn things in scripture or textbooks, and you memorize it and you think you're intelligent. But the information, you don't, you know, you don't know who wrote it. You're judging them to be all intelligent. And so you want some of that from your professor's intelligence. And you copy from people. so you be smart. Only the smartest people in the room were the failures, the dropouts. People like me never fit in, never wanted to, because it is satanic how people look up and they're tripping all over their kids like zombies. I was just watching a show called The Rise of the Antichrist on YouTube there. You could go take a look. It's actually quite good. I'm enthralled with it. I think they know more than they're saying. They do know more than they're saying. They know everything, and it does come out in movies. And life has become a game of thorns. And it is because our imaginations are being programmed to be satisfied with certain conditions. And it doesn't matter, where you live. You could live in the sewers of India. Been there, done that. One of my lives, one of my past lives. We live every 100 years. We get 100 years and we live 100 years in a new simulation. It's always a new simulation with a new thread of your life. Your grandparents, your parents, your children, and your grandchildren. This is your thread of life, and you're choosing your parents. All of this consciousness has come to me um, bit by bit, and it's been very difficult getting beaten up by the masses who disagree, because they learn something different. Or they're afraid of the concept of what I'm talking about. They're afraid of being responsible as God, whatever. And that means that you are to feed the hungry. You are to forgive. You are to not judge. You are fearless. And we need your love. I brought my love to Quebec because it wasn't wanted in British Columbia. You don't know what happened to me 7 years ago in September of 2016. I was, well, my health started to fail and I was a little bit concerned that I had a black mass on my lung and I was running, my dog died of cancer. And the lady that lived in the condo before me, it was a copper sky, beautiful condo overlooking Okanagan Lake in West Kelowna and Mission Hill Winery. I mean, come on, I was in heaven. And I had this condo I was renting. I got it a rental through a boyfriend I had dated for a couple of weeks. It just happened to come on the market, and I happened to know the woman that he was married to, actually, and she owned that condo. Anyway, long story short, his daughter inherited it after she died of cancer, and I rented it for very cheap. And so in this luxury, I had 2 bedrooms and crystals and, I mean, a balcony that went on forever overlooking pools and lakes. I mean, what more did you want, right? but and I was also a clinical hypnotherapist operating out of the Family Wellness Center uh, in West Kelowna. Little community treatment center. They did massages. She had different studios for different practices, and there was a health food store and naturopath attached to it. And I went in there and I had taken the training for clinical hypnotherapy. And right off the bat, we hit it off, and I became a clinical hypnotherapist running out of there. And you make good money in the business. I'm not going to lie. You can charge a lot of money for healing and, promises, right? And people get enthralled with the idea of hypnosis, so they were willing to pay if they had the money. And I'm sorry if I sound a little mocky about that, but I knew after this event of mine that I had to hang up my shingle. I could no longer I could no longer do my work for money. And but anyway, this night I was still working for money and just starting to feel sick and not able to go into work as often. And um, I got a new kitten. I already had one because my dog had died of cancer, and I had lucky I had Gracie, and it's the first cat since anyway. This beautiful little cat, Gracie, and but I didn't want Gracie to be alone, so I got a new kitten named Truly, and a little tabby cat. Gracie was a tuxedo little bitch, she was the boss and always climbing on things and eating my plants and I tried to grow a marijuana plant and I ate it up. So I wanted to get company for Gracie and I got Truly. And this Truly kitten was, my deceased son. I've had many spiritual events and things about my son, talks about my son, but he loved cats. So I named this one Truly, and it was prancing on my bed this September as I was in a state of almost asleep. I wasn't even under the covers. I was over the covers, just watching my kitten and play. And then, um, but I think I sort of fell asleep or something because the next thing I knew, I was surrounded by these tall beings of light. And they had forms to them at first. And now in my image, the forms are leaving me and it just feels like light. But at the time, I remember consciously saying they have forms, and it was all very alien to me. So uh, they started telepathically speaking to me and downloading me is the only word, like I was a computer or something, but my brain wasn't able to take it. And I said to them at one point, I remember consciously saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to remember those details. I'm not going don't give me all that. I won't remember." And because my brain, a human brain, is overload, but they kept coming, it kept coming, it kept coming. And there was another part where it was personal about my intuitive powers throughout my life and the times I ignored it and did not pay attention to my own survival skills or protection of my child. So I had all those feelings and rage of I knew it. Like I knew that for example, my ex did not marry me for me. I was a targeted mother, a single parent, and many of us were. It's a hideous world out there, and it's because of the imaginations have allowed people to think they're getting away with something, or they can be forgiven, or blah, blah, blah. Well, if you can forgive yourself, because you're part of this when you get conscious again. And I was given this gift. So there I was laying on the bed and getting all this information. And then they moved closer, a couple of them moved closer and did some work on my body. It seemed to be around my heart area and my torso area. And I I heard telepathically them saying, you we're healing you the way you heal others. And that's the only I feel funny even saying that because I didn't know I was healing others. I've never had any confidence in what I do. I've been a little shithead, according to my family, a troublemaker, instigator, and crazy bitch, to people in my family. And to hear this validation from this light, it was kind of, really? But I still didn't know what they were doing to my body. And then the lights faded out, and immediately following, I saw my son, Trevor. And we looked at each other, beams in the eyes, the pupils in your eyes, guys. You see those lights? Those are your connections. And they don't die. They leave your body when you die. And they go. So that's how you know each other. Those beams are critical for you to know about because they're recording your life and nothing is hidden. Anyway, I'll finish with what happened that night. So there he was, Trevor, and he beamed me in my heart something very physical and strong. I still feel it to this day. And a couple of years ago or a year ago, one of my cardio heart failure problems, I've been having all these diseases last several years. It's been a journey. But anyway, it doctors looking at me weird, but I feel like my son left some kind of impression on my heart because I really felt it physically. It was like a heart orgasm of laughter and joy, and it's all right. Everything's all right. And oh my God, what a relief! And blah blah. It was all knowing all at once. Everything's okay, and so much more. But I can't utter the words because it would sound insane to you. And as my consciousness has unfolded, I've been able to slowly bring myself around to believing in the story that I was given of the history of us, our world, and how we are incarnated every 100 years. And suffering is optional, but we are in a trap where believing in this outside God you call Father and praying to this source is removing you so far from your own magic, you know? And if you don't know you have it and you think it's blasphemy for me, and I can't tell you how many times people have said, oh, you think you're God. Oh my God, you think you're God. Well, yeah, I am. And it's my responsibility to feed my neighbors and my family and to teach them right from wrong and to keep the straight and narrow and not look left and right with distractions, to always stay in my lane of where I'm going. And knowing I am a piece of that pie. I am PIE. I am a piece of that pie. I am not worshiping it. I am it. You are it. And the joy and laughter that we could have with our stories, our reincarnation stories, and love of life and living. But we have created on the world map a black slave race. And our consciousness is going dark and darker and darker. And that's why we're getting blacker and blacker and blacker. It is truly a manifestation of the thinking. And if people don't get that right, that, um, you know, bottom line is your own thread of life, your grandparents, your parents, yourselves, your children, and to demonize your children's other partner the way I was raised. It's such a big part of my story too, right? Every part of my life and story has been for this time. And it was mapped out well before I was born. And now it's only now I know I recognize, oh, I remember that. And I have a band of rock and roll music players in my consciousness who help me. And you will call that schizophrenia. But I've stopped playing the music on my channel because of being, you know, um, blocked and copyrighted. But songs would just show up on my playlist out of nowhere, and I'd listen to it, and oh my God, it's, when it makes sense to you. And I was able to, throughout the last few years, articulate to my subscribers, which is why you're here. You were kind enough to listen to me and my story. And the, you know, a lot of people, not going to lie, I'd get a new subscriber and the next day I'd lose two or whatever because I said the wrong thing that offended them and they disagreed with. Well, all I'm doing is telling you my life and my story. I don't care if you disagree or not. I am looking straight. I am not looking left or right, up or down. And by keeping my focus, it's a miracle to me in the last few days. Guys, I've lived with every disease, and now I'm recovering from a broken back and two vertebrae and my tailbone. Telling you, the pain's been enormous. But I got the right medicines and immune boosters that are all natural, and I'm coming out of that. I'm being reconstructed, and I feel great, but I'm not ready yet to start rollerblading, even though I have new rollerblades ready to go. But I'm telling you that this whole thing is going to be done by June, because it was in June of 2018 that I went homeless from that place, that condo, that beautiful condo I was living in. I got so sick, and things happened after the beings of light and terror came. And by the way, the final words to me through all of it were, "Be prepared." And that is what they did for me, is they prepared my heart for what was to come, because I'm telling you, you're going to be going into a lot of stress, and I know that people are going to go insane because their brains have been messed with. They're programmed to be messy and to yeah, be unfocused, look left or look right, or blame this person, or send that one to hell, or idolize that one, but not living your own dream and not living your own story with your own thread, because it's so broken up by now, right? Like mine is, right? What am I going to do? My thread's all dead and gone, except my grandchildren just don't want anything to do with me. You know, this generations have turned away from their elders, and so the wisdom they're getting will continue to be through the media, or any educational or religious pursuits they may want to join and learn, because they're not going to discover. People will not discover their own power and magic when they're looking outward, when they're looking left, right, up, or down. It has to be felt, the power of love. And it really has to be natural. Like, I couldn't be any other way than who I am. And I've always been. But I doubted myself my whole life because I was judged and told, whatever. people were seeing in themselves. They actually literally think it's me. They the rise of the Antichrist show points out too is that is the zombies. If you're worshiping with crosses, you got your cross and you got your cloaks and you got your symbols. Well, I don't know if you know Jesus or not, but Jesus was against all of those idols and altars and sacrifices. And yeah, the Holy Bible has been cursed by the word, using fear and allowing the mind to be tempted to think for a God that you don't know, that you're just learning about. You're memorizing verses and you're memorizing what this God's rules are. There's 10 commandments or something, start off with. Well, right off the bat, your imagination's going, who did I want to kill? These ideas are put into your mind. It's like what I see now, where things that we're not allowed to watch, child, dot, 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 dot. We're not allowed to watch that, right? But they're allowed to describe it in crimes, right? Crimes against children. Oh, they go into explicit detail. Crimes against women, explicit detail. It's another way to get the imagination sparked. And it spreads. It becomes obsessive for some people. They get uh, activated into that kind of situation, and they have no self-control. And then they become dangerous. And this is what I've encountered dangerous people. They don't know what they're doing. I've been raped and robbed and murdered I don't know how many times. They don't know what they're doing. It's all hypnosis. And I know of my beginnings were in I got an octagon place up there that sort of um my art is my spirit. It tells me things. But we're in I come from the North Star. That was my first beginning, North Star. And we were playing with the words, with alphabet, but it wasn't called alphabet. It was poetry, and where we could manifest. This is our place too. Like I got this art up here too. Um, I know it's not that good to you, but it was my glitter had to come all over this picture because it reminded me of where I began. It's like uh, I was given the gift of remembering 5 of my past lives. I thought it was 4, and this one, but it's actually 5 past lives. And with my soulmate, which I have in my thread, we all have a soulmate in our thread of life. We all have twin flames in our thread of life. And that we come with. For example, I am my mother's twin flame. We're the same spirit. We lived out different stories, and she helped build my character for this journey. And she's a big part of the journey. But, she was like public enemy number 1 my whole life until she cut me out of the will and died and told everybody to ignore me, because I was a truth teller and I offended her by not supporting her being loyal. Doesn't matter, that it's your father you're supporting and helping to go to. She didn't like him and she called him Satan. And the fact that I dared betray her got me out, right? And that's the way people think. As part of my story, so I can repeat it to you. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't look like I get any views at all. or likes or comments. But I'm going to tell you something. I do. This is going place. Listen, artificial intelligence is not as intelligent as you think. It's not as intelligent as we are. And our numeral system, our system, I work by code now. I can't believe I'm saying this because I can't do math. I failed grade 2. I dropped out in grade 10. I can't do long division, never could. I cheated to get into business school, and I cheated in math to get into university. I didn't have to cheat that much. It's a long division, really, but I couldn't do it. My brain wasn't able to do any of that kind of math, but I am now conscious of our numeral system. Our number system is by code, and our system goes from 1 to 9. There are no zeros, and you can have any variation of those numbers, but there are no zeros in our system. And suddenly I was looking at clocks and license plates and numbers. I thought, boy, that reminds me of my dad, or that reminds me of my son. And oh my gosh, is my mother around? Like thoughts like that came to me that would you might want to call a doctor on me or something, right? Because you're brainwashed. But that is not a mental illness or a disorder. It is a connection to source, my source. My source is intelligent. Now, if you don't want it and you want to be separate from it and you don't want to know about your own, then you can carry on, because I don't want to interfere with anybody anymore. I know who's supposed to see this video are seeing it. And I know that it is affecting the people it is supposed to affect. And all that means is that people aren't to learn from me, they are to recognize me by knowing themselves and knowing the truth, because what I'm talking about is our truth. Our truth is we are spirits, and we come to play with the human senses. And for 2024 years, we have been hijacked by the word. The meaning, the context has been twisted, And I'm not going to get into who or how or whatever. I'm just saying they're all infested now, and they're all outside gods with rules and imaginations galore. Like, oh boy, the Muslims came along and now they got to wear all these outfits for their women, like nuns did for the Jesuits guys. Oh yeah, you guys got to dress in black. Oh no, God doesn't want to look at you. Or all these men. No, you got to be modest. It's your fault. It's your fault you have a body. And you demonize women, and that's your mother, and that's making hell for your children, especially your daughters, and making your sons think that they can put fear into women and children too. And this fear that we, enslaved system is a trickle down effect, like life is a game, and it's trickled down, and people have, or is satanic as the ones at the top. I'm not kidding you. You worry about the people on TV or on Epstein Island or whatever you're watching there, and you're going, oh, I'm horrified. Oh, that's just terrible. Terrible what they're doing to the kids. I don't know how bloody common it is. I hear people talking about the sex registry and how that's in every freaking neighborhood times 20. Well, where are the victims? Right? Like nobody ever, you're always talking about the criminals because you don't want to focus on the reality of what's what's real. And you're looking left or right, up or down, someone to blame, someone to idolize, someone to hope for with faith, blind faith. Someone else, someone other than you. All right, one more story of my life before I go, and it comes from a wise Indian woman who was my best friend. She was the education and financial director on the Tawasan Indian Band in British Columbia. And we met. I was, at the time, a life skills and program manager for the government, um, teaching people on welfare how to get jobs, basically. So we met, and I knew her for 25 years. And there was a long period where I didn't see her, but then we fall right back into, or saying, as if, nothing has passed, no time has passed. And I got to tell you something. Um, she was in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And I went in there too. I was so afraid I was going to become like my parents. I went in and I went every Saturday with a jug of tea into the Tawasan Indian Band church there. And there she was, and the chief and the chief's wife, they'd go to these AA meetings on the band. And it was I went for about a year with her, and she was like 30 years sober. I don't know, a lot of sobriety there since she was 20, I think. But and she had her degree from Winnipeg, and um, anyway, she became my sponsor. I don't know if you know the program or not, but you have to go through steps. And it's about facing your demons, which isn't a bad idea to look at things, right? And so I told her the biggest thing that made me want to, and I did, I like to drink and take antidepressants because I just didn't want to think or feel. So she said, well, you got to look at it so you don't feel it anymore. And I said, well, that'd make me feel it more if I look at it. But anyway, so she and I went through all this, and so I told her about the abuse I went through as a child and how I wasn't believed by the whole works of the family and how I'm, ostracized and, I just, mostly it was about the offense that I couldn't get out of my head, right? It affects children. And it was my stepfather. So anyway, she told me, well, you know what? If you're hanging on to something, it's your fault. And I went, what? And she said, yeah, it's your fault. You're hanging on to something. And she wouldn't tell me what. It's like she knew, but she wouldn't tell me what. And so I had to work on that step. You can't go on to step 5 until you're right, until you feel it. And remember, it's felt. It's felt that you're free from your obsessive feelings, right? And nothing I was going to do to make me free. The guy had to go to jail or somebody had to believe me. I needed justice, blah, blah, blah. I was the victim. But I, I wasn't thinking. Um, 3 weeks later, it finally hit me. Something I did or didn't do is what I'm really upset about and what really I'm hurting myself about. And what it was I did not speak up. I I kept quiet and I allowed fear and outside gods and distractions to to make me feel, you know, judged. And that means that you're not looking straight. That You're either looking left or right or up or down again at other people's opinions or other people's feelings about things. And, I've been through hell throughout my life, and it's very easy for me to sit here and put blame on any number of people, everybody. But I just don't have it in me. That's not who I am. I don't carry luggage with me. And I ended up going homeless. Um, the um, following year after the beings of light came, I was put into a state of extreme bad health and a post traumatic stress incident that happened to me at the hospital. So I was in PTSD uh, from there on in 2000 or March 2017. Luckily, my business had just sold. A woman bought it, who was one of my clients actually, and she had the money and she wanted a career. So I just turned the keys over to her. She had yeah, I think I got $22,000 for it. And, it was just, she just had to keep it up with good faith. It worked out. So there I was, though, in a state of PTSD all through, just before or just after she took over. I couldn't train her because I was in a bad mental state after what happened to me at the hospital. I could not train her. And ended up going homeless in 2018, losing everything. I didn't know how to hang on to anything. I What I was becoming conscious to, like what the beings of light had unfolded in me, was too much to bear. And what I knew about my ex, what I knew about my life, and who they said I was, and all of it was way too freaking much. And I thought I was going insane too, right? I didn't believe in me at all. And so I was sort of pushed along and always faith. But I ended up on a bus with two suitcases, Greyhound bus at Kelowna. And that's all I brought with me for 3,000 miles. I don't know how many, to Quebec, all the way across Canada. It's a big freaking country. And I did that through the Rockies, through the prairies, and feeling I was leaving everything and everyone behind and not knowing why. I had no idea why. And I had no idea where I was going. I had zero idea. I was going to Ottawa first. And then I ended up in a Airbnb in Montreal. And somehow I thought, well, it'd be nice to visit Quebec City. May as well go to another Airbnb. You could get them for the month. And it was cheaper than my rent. So I did that. In the June, I ended up in Quebec City of 2018. And I stayed at a few Airbnbs, and I found this apartment. And it was built for me in every way. It's been safe, comfortable. Um, I was donated most of the furniture, or I got it from dollar stores. Everything was just there for me. And then Frank began to ship me items from my home. My dad's Hope chest, see that over there? It's a Hope chest. My dad built me. The toy train along my window, it's a Christmas toy train Trevor had growing up. Like all the little things and joyful pleasures that well, they're broken souvenirs now, aren't they? But they've kept me happy, and I was able to build on that. And I didn't have anything for my walls, so I did art, and I learned that my art is my consciousness unfolding. And in this video, I'm going to show you up close what some of these um, mean. you know um, I don't know how many people can really hear me. It's like I'm in a different dimension. But if anybody can hear me, let me know. And there's going to be a lot of people activated, and it's true. They're either going to be able to cope with the truth unfolding, or they won't be able to. And I've been through it all, and I wasn't able to cope at first, right? But I've been a counselor, and I've been a coach, and I've had a strong background with abuse and trauma. And so I'm kind of built for this time in being able to help people um, bring their senses down here and remember that this is a show, a simulation of life, and you've had many, and you'll have many more. And, it's a matter of your own joy that you want to create a movie for your laughter and your joy. And I don't want you to worry about your loved ones, either dead or alive. Everything happens for a reason in your story. And nothing's a mistake, like nothing. And you'll find how brilliant we are in mapping out. First, we map out what we want to do. Like, when I was living my life, I didn't appreciate it. Well, I always really did. I did keep my focus pretty good, but when you're shitting on yourself all the time and abusing yourself all the time, and blaming yourself all the time and not being right like everybody else all the time, um, then you cannot you can't create the magic that's inside. And what comes easy now is everything, everything. I have a coded system I work with. I deal telepathically with the spirit world, and I'm isolated, and I'm happy and at peace. And it is possible for everybody that wants that to have it. But if you're hanging on to feelings, if you have depression, for example, depression is a signal. It, it, it's your body telling you that you are not looking at something. I can't tell you how depressed I was and anxious I was. If you're depressed and anxious, try not to take things for it, try to deal with it. And you know what? I always taught my students, what's the worst that can happen? And try to think through, what is the worst that can happen here? And, it's about self love, self protection. You are part of the pie. It's about remembering. And when you remember, you're safe, and you're protected. And so now it's a matter of not letting the ego scare you, and not letting anybody else scare you either. And not looking left, not looking right, not looking up, not looking down, but look straight at your focus. What is it that you're here for? You're part of the pie. You're not here by mistake. And you're listening to me. So there's got to be a reason. And it's in you, right? I did my bit, shared my story here, and am going to continue to share any bits I come up with, any wisdom I have for helping people cope. But I'm so far, into my spiritual world that I'm not able to connect with most people at this point. You know, they don't. People don't understand, they think it can't be true, or they, it's. too mind-boggling, actually. I get it. I understand. There was a time I didn't even think reincarnation was even real. Can you imagine how long it took me to 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 know my story was real? And the only way we know what's real is not through the word, because the word's messed up, but how we feel. And you can count on how you feel. And words are, can be manipulated, but feelings never lie. And I always go to the root of my feelings. And um, if you are so brave as to do that, you can do it through self hypnosis and self reflection and awareness. And just be aware of your body and aware of any pain you have, and learn how to relax your body and relax your face and relax the parts that hurt, and just learn to relax. Like how drunks always survive accidents? Well, they're relaxed, right? So the more you learn how to relax your physical body and calm your mind down by dropping thoughts. If you have thoughts of abusing people or wanting to get even and blah, 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 learn to drop them. Just drop it. Or if you are like me, where you think that the words other people have said to you are true, and you have to, think of yourself as, some judged person, crazy bitch or whatever, and, you're suffering with judgment, drop it. That's other people. And it's up to us. Suffering is optional, as I said in the beginning, and it's up to us if we want to carry it or not. And I suggest it's okay to unload it. That if it's not yours to carry, it's not yours to carry. And I did a poem on that. I don't know if you saw it on my posts, but you can go back and look. I'm not very good at doing links and things, but I did a post, poetry, about leaving luggage behind. But then you turn around and you see what's in front of you, right? And what you could create out of nothing, when you're not holding on to the negative darkness. And you're not going dark yourself in that consciousness. That's my fair warning. That was my forewarning, that I have lived a life in India, in the sewers of India, and I remember it as part of that download I got with the 5 lives, and it was to show people that if um, if our consciousness is is in the shit, then that's kind of where we end up. That's where the imagination's going to take you. And you need to create a better imagination here and now. Create paradise in your imagination. Do it in hypnosis, in meditation, and in your feelings and how you want it to be. And then connect with people the way you want to connect with. I am changing. I'm reset now. I went to number 9, and now I'm over that old story. And by June of this year, by my 7-year thing, I guess you go through in this consciousness, as I saw the rising of the Antichrist, and I thought, hey, that 7-year thing makes sense. And mine would be up in June. And I can feel it. I can feel my health restoring. I can feel, kind of invincible, as far as I don't feel vulnerable the way I did when I got here. A strange land. I don't know French. I can't even learn it. My brain was so traumatized. Learning French has just been a nightmare. But the truth is, my friends, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And living today is is all I care about. is keeping myself happy and comfortable. Even if I don't have a family or a bunch of friends around me, I'm able to find ways to keep myself occupied. I watch programs that either keep me interested or laughing or sentimental, but I never live in the movies and I never idolize the stars. I'm a observer without taking in anything. And that's the way to be, not allowing any show to affect me except my show and how I feel. And my channel inside has to change if I'm affected by feeling. Feelings matter. They're all that matters to our intelligence. It's called emotional intelligence. And once you get to knowing yourself, I got to tell you, the the consciousness doesn't stop. You're not going to suddenly be, oh, I'm conscious. I'm glad that things are coming clearer to you, but every day more and more awareness. And it's up to you on if you tuck away and face the awareness or not. And that's what I'm having a problem with. People are not able to really face what's real and, how they are personally being affected by, you know, the junk going on television, right? Left, right, up and down. So stay home in your thoughts and tend to your own uh, home, your own thread of life. And if you don't have one anymore, reset, deal with it and reset. You know, I think that's all I have for right now. Good morning, subscribers and new people who have never heard of me before. I am going to do a video later on today, um, going over my very real ET, alien, angel, God experience that I had in September of 2016. And it was a spectacular event that put me in immediate PTSD, which is uh, a state of mind where I could not speak and I could not think. And I was in a very vulnerable position. But I was well taken care of. And what happened to me was I was downloaded with the truth about the history of our world, uh, our our origins, and what we're doing here on Earth. And I assure you, it does not look like Hollywood at all. And our minds have been programmed to believe in religious and educational structures. We also see no problem with watching fiction, violence, or whatnot on television or media devices. And what I was warned about the last 100 years has been a soul sucking disaster. And I'm here to let people know. And if they don't want to know, they're going to find out the hard way. So stay tuned. I'll let you know what happened to me that fateful day, September 2016, that started this whole channel, or another channel, but I got that one removed for too much truth telling. But here I am, still alive and able to articulate what is going on. So hit your notification bell if you want to know what happened to me at that time to make me so weird to you. Bye for now.